If you want to trade like a rebel, you got to come to Rebelcon 2022. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas, at the fabulous Four Seasons Resort. It will be more fun and more live trading than we've ever done before. That's why it's called Rebelcon 2022. We're going to have barbecues and double the amount of live trading. The guest speakers, as soon as we announce those, this thing's going to be sold out, limited to 250 people. Sign up now for Rebelcon 2022 at the Four Seasons in Dallas, Texas.
Welcome to the Rebellion.
All right. I'm Pete Najarian. It's Friday. This is The Take for Market Rebellion. When you look back to yesterday, what were we really looking at? We were looking at a pretty wild ride for the week and an incredible run. And obviously we've got earnings and we've got movement in all kinds of different areas of the market that are definitely causing some of the big volatile moves that we are seeing in the market, specifically when you look at the energy sector standing out much more than almost anything else. But we look at the Dow. It was struggling throughout the session, and it actually finished down about 85 points versus the NASDAQ, which actually was mostly positive throughout the session, did have a dip here and there, but then accelerated out of that to finish up 50 points. A bit of a dislocation. How about this? If I told you we started off the week with crude right around 98, and yesterday we were closer to 88, boy, that's a pretty big hit, and we have seen some of that movement. So when I say crude, and some of the moves that have been going on there and some of that volatility, certainly part of that. In terms of volatility of the S&P and the rest of the markets, we've also been watching that start to move to the downside as well. So despite the fact that we're seeing energy pull back the way we have, we're seeing the volatility index 2140. Actually, you look over at the VXN, the volatility of the NASDAQ, right around that 28 level. You've got the 2-year, 3, you got the 10-year at about a 2.7 with 37.8 million contracts trading yesterday. A little bit light, but nonetheless, still very, very active and a lot of activity, considering the fact that we are in summertime. And usually you start to see a little bit of that pull back, especially as we push into August. But we're not really seeing a whole lot of pullback right now. As a matter of fact, as we go through earnings season and the jobs numbers, which came out today, really seeing a little bit of that volume still being in the marketplace, a lot less vacationers and a lot more people sit in front of their computers. Bitcoin, 22,600, slid back just a little bit, not terrible, but we've been in this range of, we were talking about with Bitcoin, call it 22,000 up towards 24,000. So relatively tight range, especially considering what the product is we're talking about. So I talked about oil, talked about energy and the sectors. If I told you yesterday energy was down 3.6%, you would think the markets were getting absolutely slammed. We just heard they weren't getting necessarily slammed because there was some absolutely positive parts of the sectors as well. But when I look at energy, Chevron, Exxon, Conoco, all getting hammered to the downside. We also had staples getting beat up a little bbit, almost 1% move. It was names like Walmart and Costco and Pepsi kind of pushing things to the downside. Consumer discretion, however, up about 0.5%. Take a look at what Tesla was doing. Amazon, Netflix, all having a pretty decent day yesterday to balance out what we were seeing. Technology finished up about 0.5%. Meta, I take a look over at Microsoft. I look at Amazon. Those are some of the names that definitely were in the leadership role, including, and I will say this, from the semiconductor space, AMD had a massive day yesterday. We also had Dish. We had ICE at the Intercontinental Exchange. We also had Moderna yesterday, 3M, Visa, American Express, all very strong. On the weaker side, though, there was definitely some pull coming from Ball, from Fortinet, and then I look over at Palo Alto as well in the securities world. A lot going on there, but definitely getting pushed to the downside. Matter of fact, Fortinet absolutely slammed in a name that I've been talking about. We talked about it on Rebel's Edge yesterday with John. That's a name that sure is getting more and more intriguing all the time as it's gotten sold off. So I'm personally keeping a very close eye on that one as well. The beta stocks, when we're talking about the energy space, I look at APA, I look at Marathon Oil and Baker Hughes and Occidental, all under some serious pressure yesterday, along with Lucid, CrowdStrike, J&J, United Health. You get the idea. It was pretty broad of pulling on the markets as well yesterday, particularly obviously on the Dow, which did finish in negative territory. So we start off today. Things look pretty decent today. We get the jobs report. People would say, wow, that jobs report really did blow things out. Some of the interpretations are there, though, that we still have inflation. Maybe it hasn't peaked, and that's some of the concern, at least early on. So we went from very positive in the pre-market to very negative in the pre-market, down about 140 points for the Dow, down about 130 points for the NASDAQ. And then we started this creep a little bit higher as we got a little bit more into the day, 15 or 20 minutes. So not a whole lot of time. Matter of fact, at the top of the hour, we started to push more towards almost getting in positive territory. We may have actually gotten into positive territory. Now, I last looked right before coming on here. We were starting to slip back just a little bit, but we are still way off of the early lows in that first hour. Very incredible. Matter of fact, you take a look at crude. It was 88s. It actually moved up towards almost 90. So a big, strong move coming out of crude. Nat gas was under 8. It's moved up above, and it was at 815 last I looked. I'm looking at the volatility index getting slammed down even a little bit further. We were in the 22s. We dropped back down to 2150. I look at the VXN, right around 28, but it's been underneath 28. What's really taken a pretty big move to the upside today was that 2-year. We talk about the 2s and the 10s. The 2-year was up at 3.2. I look at the 10-year right around 2.8. So we are seeing a little bit of movement there. And I mentioned Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin today, 23,200. We're almost smack dab in the middle of that 22,000, 24,000 range that we were just talking about. Communications, that lifted off of the lows. Early on, communications, that sector was down a little over 1.25%, down about 0.5% just moments ago. I look at technology down 1.25%. That actually moved back towards flat. And consumer discretion, absolutely cutting in half some of the losses early on. So you can see where it is in the areas within sectors that are pulling the markets back up just a little bit, at least early on. Energy started off up about 0.5%. Before you could blink, it's up 2%. Financials, which weren't doing a whole lot early on, up 1%. So you can see what's pulling the markets off of those earlier lows as we've gotten deeper into the day. We have Expedia. That one's up pretty nice today. As a matter of fact, it was last up that I looked close to about 5%. They had great numbers when it was lodging. Great numbers on the airline. So that particular travel site having a really, really good day. DoorDash up about 10% as well. Strong revenues there. I've got Carvana, aggressive cost cutting. That's up about 8%. So you've got earnings just continue to roll on, and we continue to just kind of roll with it as we obviously have this backdrop of the inflation numbers and all kinds of other things that are getting thrown at us, whether it's in crude or whatever. But the markets just continue to have a nice, powerful feel to them of late. Today, as far as some of the strength, Mosaic definitely stands out. Vertex and Biogen stood out as well. JP Morgan, Chevron having a pretty good start to the day. What's not having a good start, and despite the fact of the movement in the market, are some of these other names like Paramount, like Warner Brothers, getting absolutely hammered today. I look over at Western Digital, not having a very good start to the day. Neither is Live Nation, definitely struggling, along with Zoom. Tesla was down just a little bit as well. So you get a little bit of an idea of what's really kind of working, what's really kind of pulling against. By the way, the promo video you got a chance to see right at the start of this, we're really excited about Rebelcon. That's going to be in September. There still are some tickets, the gold and the platinum and all the high end. That part's all done. But we've got a great lineup of folks that are going to be there, from Tony Dwyer, Bryn Talkington, you see here on the halftime report very frequently, Tom Lee, who everybody seems to have on television on a very consistent basis. We've got a great group of speakers that are going to be joining us. Of course, you're going to have the Market Rebellion team as well. That's in September. You get a chance, just go to Market Rebellion, go through the process, get signed up. That's going to be exciting. That's not that far away, just a little over a month away. So that should be pretty exciting. Next, I've got unusual option activity. Then we're out of here for the weekend. We've got Meta starting off with that one, trading 168.50 at the start of the day. And right when they came out, we had a buyer of 4,000 of next Friday. So you've got 1 week for these to work. The 182.5. As I said, stock was 168.50. These are the 182.5. Those are going for about 55 cents up to about 65 cents. That's a pretty interesting one. But what really stands out, we talk about it every day, but for all the right reasons, because it seems like there's option activity, there's size, and they just continue to be right. Take a look at ChargePoint, CHPT. This name hits all the time, and it's been on this nice path from the 12s to the 15s. Well, today, stock's trading closer to 16, a little bit above 16. We got a buyer of 10,000 of the August 12th, so that's next Friday. Once again, 16 and a half calls. Those are going for about 55 cents. Those are getting rolled up from calls that worked for this week. They're selling those. They're buying the next ones. Those are those trades that we talk about here all the time. When somebody's got a winning trade and they still want to be in that stock, but want to take some of that off the table, it's exactly what we're seeing here in ChargePoint, which seems like it hits every single day with very large. Matter of fact, this 10,000, that's kind of a smaller trade compared to some of the trades that we've seen in ChargePoint. We've seen 50,000, 60,000, 30,000. Very, very, very active in terms of the options and the volumes that we've been seeing in there. Folks, have a great weekend, a safe weekend, and navigate yourselves through these derivative markets. Obviously, there's a lot going on. We've got all these different news sources. We won't hear from the Fed till September, so keep that in the back of your mind as well. Have a great weekend.